Alive on the MOUNJARO, it's OnThePen Alive, with your host David Knapp.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Independence Day. It is such a pleasure to be able to live in this country where we have the freedom to speak. And I'm so thankful for the platform that you all have given me. And I'm so thankful for this country that we live in. So happy birthday to the United States of America. Happy birthday to my son, Cooper, who turns 9 today. I wanted to bring you a special installment of OnThePen this week, as it is a holiday. So this is pre-recorded version. Hopefully I'll be able to join you at some point here in the chat. But please enjoy this awesome interview that I did today with my new friend, Candace. She has a great channel called Candice, the T on GLP. And so that'll be linked in the description below. Make sure that you find her. I'm sure once you hear from her, you will want to hear more from her. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in it tonight with a special installment, with a special interview with Candace. And we just had a great conversation. It's always fun to meet somebody who gets as excited about this kind of stuff as I do. And Candace is certainly one of them. Can't wait to bring this to you. Give her some love in the chat. I hope that you all are enjoying your family. I hope that you're enjoying fireworks and barbecue and all the things we do to celebrate. But if you're hanging with me tonight, I hope that you enjoy this interview. And if you're watching this sort of on demand later on, I hope you enjoy it as well. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the interview. So without further ado, here's my interview with Candace, the T on GLP. My friends, we have an exciting hot channel tonight. I can't wait to bring this one to you tonight. This channel, Candace, T on GLP, has absolutely blown up in just a few months because her content is awesome. And I think that you all would really enjoy it. That's why I wanted to make sure we got her in here to OnThePen to share a little bit about her story, a little bit about the content that she shares. And it's very unique. And so I'm excited to bring this one to you. Tonight's hot channel. We'll welcome Candace in after we roll that bumper.
Hot channel.
Candace, happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, Dave.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
Doing great. Thanks for doing this show with us tonight. Thanks for being here and doing it on such short notice nonetheless. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I sincerely appreciate it.
Absolutely. So your content has been really interesting to follow because it's, first of all, you do such a good job with the production quality. So I always like when I see other people making content, I'm like, man, how did they do that? Your content is really polished. Like, I'm just going to ask you right off the bat, like, do you have a background in this stuff? Like, how do you get all this stuff to come together to look and sound so good?
No, I just looked it up on YouTube. Like, no, I have a background. I have a background in it. I come from the photo and video world. I was a still photographer though, not a video photographer. So okay. The learning curve has been steep, but I kind of just threw myself in there.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it shows. It's like, it's just such really nice polished content. It's like everything that I wish that I was and am not when it comes to production quality. So first of all, you know that if you go to Candace's channel, you're going to get really high quality content. But the topic and the subject matter, I think, is super relevant to this channel and to this audience as well. Can you kind of, so what, I'll just kind of give an overview of kind of my takeaway from the content that I've seen of yours is you're very into the not only weight loss aspect of it, but the quality of it. Can you kind of share about a little bit about your story, how you sort of got to this GLP-1 world and how you got to this focus on quality of weight loss and muscle mass and muscle preservation? What kind of led you to this point?
Like from the very beginning, how I started the
Yeah.
GLP-1s?
Yeah,
So
like
I had weight loss surgery about 20 years ago. Well, I had 2 weight loss surgeries. I paid for lap band surgery in a foreign country, and it failed. It was placed improperly, and so when they went to fill it the very first time, I collapsed in a lobby in a Mexican hotel place.
oh my God.
And so that didn't go great.
No bueno.
No bueno. And so came back to the States alive, but just with a ineffective $14,000 device that I'm just out, right?
Wow.
So then I decided it was time for America. And back then, it was a lot harder to get gastric bypass than it was now. It was kind of like how getting MOUNJARO and Zepbound approved for insurance back then was about the same as it was to get surgery. It was not the first option. And so I found a doctor. I went through the insurance process and I got approved and I got the surgery. And I went from almost 400 pounds down to just at 200.
Wow. Which surgery did you have? You had lap band the first time.
Lap band the first time. And then
2 years
traditional
later,
bypass the second time.
bypass. Okay. And after that second surgery, you were able to lose 200 pounds. About how much time did that take from the time you had surgery to the time you found yourself 200 pounds down?
I tend to overdo things.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed. About a year and a half, maybe.
Wow. That's incredible.
But I was in my 20s. I had nothing but just to focus on that. So I was at the gym every day, like walking, just trying to get the most out of it. Because I kind of like the same way that I approached this is I didn't know how long that initial satiety was going to last or that full feeling was going to last. And I wanted just to maximize the benefits out of it before my body got a little bit more used to it. So in the first 4 months, after that weight loss surgery, I dropped, well over 100 pounds.
Wow. That's incredible and very smart. So if you're watching this interview and you take literally nothing else away from it, I think that is such good advice, whether you're talking about bariatric surgery or especially if you're talking about the medicine. Is Candace makes an excellent point. You don't know how long that satiety element is going to last, like how long your body's going to give you those same cues. So really, and I can think back to when I first started this medicine, I had sort of a totally different disposition towards the medicine than that. I was like so over the diet culture and so over the 20 years of yo-yoing and white knuckling and failing that I was like almost just a prayer, like, God, let this medicine be it. I can't do this anymore at the clip that I've been, white knuckling all this dieting. And so I was more like, let the medicine allow me to eat normal people food and normal people portions and not worry about my diet. Right. So that was sort of my disposition towards it. And it worked right away. Right. But there were others who were like using it, I think, appropriately as a tool, like, let me stack this on top of the efforts that I'm already doing and see and maximize it. And I remember a guy's name's Robert. I don't know if he's still making content, but he would always use the phrase, don't waste the shot. And, in hindsight, I think that's kind of what I'm doing, what I was doing, because ultimately the satiety of the medication did not last for very long for me. And there's a whole backstory to that I've given on the channel many times, but I think that's such good advice to maximize that satiety early on. And that's why we also talk about not titrating up super fast on the doses. If the lower doses are doing it for you, don't be in a yank to go from 5 to 7.5 if you're still seeing benefit from 5. Is that what you would say?
I stayed on 2.5 because I was getting at that point I was getting it from a compounding pharmacy that's kind of like more like an LA type thing. And I was getting like a 30 milliliter or milliliter bottle. And so I because I was, the more you use, the more you pay. So I was trying to I stayed on 2.5 and lost the vast majority of my weight on 2.5.
Wow.
I only went to 5 for my neck, not because of satiety reasons, for inflammation reasons.
That's amazing. So not to totally jump the gun on kind of go back to your story a little bit. So you had the Tijuana special that had you knocked out in the lobby of the hotel. You recover from that. You get home 2 years later. You go through the pain and heartache of getting the prior authorizations for gastric bypass surgery. You have that surgery. Within a year and a half, you're down 200 pounds. Then sort of, give me, what does the next few years of your life look like in maintenance?
So they was great. I mean, I was like highly in business, and I was super active in my job and what I did. Cause I was on the road all the time, and it just crept back up, I think. And I look back on, I'm not disappointed with like gaining back 50 pounds over 20, 18 years.
Right.
Not even like, I'm not even sort of disappointed in that. That was just me,
Living.
Getting complacent maybe,
Sure.
And not doing the things I'm doing now. And I can reflect on that. And then, so I got to about like 240, 250. And then, in November of 2022, my partner and best friend, died in my arms. And I tried very hard to give him CPR, and it didn't work. So I locked myself in my house, I have gates. So I closed my gates, locked myself in the house, and I didn't see the world for almost a year. And the only people I saw were the people from DoorDash and Uber Eats. And I closed the blinds, and that was it. I had lost interest in the outside world completely, and I just didn't let anybody in. And so I gained about 300 pounds, and it was a very, very, very dark place.
Wow. So that was in 2022, you said?
Yeah, November 2nd of 2022.
Wow. First of all, I'm so sorry to hear about that. That sounds like an extremely traumatic thing to go through, and I can't relate completely to that, but I know my dad passed away similarly, where he had dropped, and his friend tried to give him CPR. The paramedics, everybody did everything they could try. And even those people who weren't as close to my dad, who were helping him, were extremely traumatized by that experience. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that part of your story. But also, who could blame you for sort of having that rough patch in your life, where who would want to go anywhere? And that probably was the easy thing to do to survive. But so
I'm
eventually,
not even sure I wanted to survive, to be honest. I wasn't sure what I wanted. It was extremely, extremely dark.
It sounds like it. Well, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that part of your story, because I think while few would be able to identify with that story exactly the way that you told it, I mean, it seems like everybody has their own version of their own trauma that has caused them, to sort of put their health on the back burner. Like they're just in survival mode. And I know that I've found myself in that position many times in life. So you're grieving, you're sort of just existing.
Just existing. It was around the 1 year mark where I decided I just needed to get some help. And I kind of got myself together, and I, started tiptoeing out back in life again. Like it wasn't so bad opening the front door anymore, and, maneuvering yourself. And then at the point where I decided, like, life is going to be okay. It's not good, but it's going to be okay. I looked at myself. I'm like, oh yeah, is it? Because like now I'm over 300 pounds. I've just, and been completely sedentary the whole entire time. And so I needed to do something about it. And I started seeing, like a lot of us do, the ads for the Zepbound, the MOUNJARO and Ozempic particularly. And I started diving into that world. But I have needle phobia. So those are shots. Mm-hmm. So I figured that out, like with numbing cream and like a little piece of plastic. And so I numb myself every injection.
Still?
Yeah, oh yeah. Every single injection.
You do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, no, it works great. And then, Yeah, and everything just started to get better. But I knew that going into this medication, I wanted to give it 110%. I wanted to be mentally completely there and ready to just hit it the second that satiety hit. I was gonna just work it.
That's awesome. So as you discovered GLP-1s and sort of this sort of new hope to sort of help you to dig out of this health hole that you had dug over the last year or so, what role did social media play in that? Is that kind of like how you discovered it, or did you discover just ads?
It was like a lot. I think a lot of people can attest to. I was just on TikTok, and I started hearing a couple of people talk about it, and then I started to research it, and then like there was something exciting to look forward to. You know, and then like my life got a little bit more interesting, like researching, because I love to research stuff. And got to research this stuff and start participating in the lives and like seeing people literally like transform. And it was around Christmas time that I decided just to go ahead and order it. And because if it's going to fail on anybody, it's going to fail on me. Right. That was my mentality, because I don't want to give too much expectation to hope and then have it not work out and then just have another setback.
Yeah, absolutely. So you took the plunge in December of last year.
I ordered it in December, but it sat in the refrigerator till January 9th. Because I had probably like, I had like, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought maybe it's kind of like bariatric surgery for some reason in my head. I had to keep having those last meals. I live in Southern California, so I had to go have tacos like one more time.
Yeah.
Until I was ready to start it. But I wanted to be ready to go and do it and not cheat from day one.
So that sounds very diety, to say, that whole concept of last meal. Like, what does Candace's diet look like on a GLP-1? Is it different than before?
Well, it's definitely different. But I want a different life than before. I don't want to be that same person. I want a different life for myself. And I kind of like treated it like I need to stay away from this as long as possible so I can teach myself how to eat properly and then reintroduce stuff in a healthy way. And now I'm at the point now where I'm 6 months in and I've seen the benefits. I've lost 81 pounds.
Wow.
And I see the benefits of all of my hard work and everything. And so I do enjoy going out to restaurants with my friends and going and having girls' day. But I didn't do that right off the bat. I wanted to it was really important that I train myself to do everything responsibly and appropriately. And is it worth it? Now, 6 months in, if I want to go out, it's fine. I just order responsibly.
Yeah. So put some teeth to that. What does responsibly look like? What are the changes that you have made? Because 80 pounds in 7 months is a tremendous transformation, especially for somebody who, you're not in your 20s anymore. You've had 2 surgeries, and it's not, even with the medication, it's not easy. So what does, just put some teeth to that? What does responsible look like? Is it just substitutions? Doesn't sound like you're eliminating any sort of macronutrient specifically, but just help people understand what you have done to get to that point.
So I have a protein goal every day. Of my personal protein goal is now 145 grams of protein a day. And I focus on that. So when I do have food, it's always protein first. Like in the morning, I'll have like the egg bites with a protein drink or like a Prothi or something. And then I'm running like a little experiment on my muscle retention right now, but I have a protein, some type of protein every 3 hours right now, just for like an experiment. But like for lunch, it's always just protein focused first. When I go out to dinner with friends now, sometimes we have just appetizers and crappy food. I just have it in moderation. Mm-hmm. But I do log it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want myself to imagine like why I want to, at the end of the week, when I calculate the numbers or go have a DEXA scan, I want to understand why and how it affected it. But I'm not tragic if I didn't have like a great like weight loss week. Mm-hmm. As long as overall we're headed in the right trajectory.
Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds very even keeled and a very rational approach to it, which, you know, there's something to be said for the people who go extreme and are able to do tremendous things in weight loss. But I look at like the last 20 years of my own personal experience as extreme. I lived 20 years of extreme. So what I've been struggling to find is like, what does not being extreme look like in order for me to hit the goals that I want to hit? And I've had a huge struggle finding what that is for me. So I'm always interested to hear from others who have been able to sort of tap into that without being like, you know, I don't eat this and I don't eat this and I don't eat, and it's never this. I always like to hear from people who are able to do it and not completely deprive themselves of those, you know, that night out with the girls and being able to live your life without having to white knuckle it and it be the 100% focus of 100% of every one of your days.
I think that white knuckling it for the first like 4.5 months for me set me up for, and seeing like how much my body had changed made it just natural to make good choices going on, because I know how hard it was to work for it. Like for me, like for my personality, that was very appropriate.
Yeah, that's great. So you kind of touched on two things, your protein goals, and sort of along the same lines of having really good protein goals, obviously muscle mass and body composition play into that. So can you talk a little bit, tell us a little bit about, you just made a great video about the DEXA scan and how you're kind of incorporating that. Can you educate everybody a little bit on when you say DEXA scan, what are you even talking about and why is that important on this journey? Or any
I wish I would have done this day one. It's but I didn't know about it. Like a lot of this stuff I don't know because I don't come from this fitness world. I go to a place where you lay into a machine and it's kind of like if you ever had a bone mineral like test from your doctor, or if they were to order one, it's the same machine. It's a low level x-ray. You lay in it and it scans your body. And it tells you your bone mineral count, your adipose tissue, and your lean muscle mass, and your actual real, not online, the TDE calculator, your real metabolic rate. And my TDE calculator is off by like 172 calories. So if you're trying to stay on an X amount deficit, I'm already 33%. They started 33% wrong. And it just gave me a whole different way of looking at having new data, because in my entire life, the only data I've ever had is that black square in the bathroom that you step on. It either goes smaller or goes lower. I honestly never even cared too much about whether I was losing fat or muscle. But as I was having muscle increase from using the EMS suit, I saw my metabolic rate increase, allowing me to have more calories per day, because eventually I want to have a very life where I can go out and have stuff and not have to worry about it whatsoever. Yeah, that's it.
Just a little visual representation. So it's like a low grade x-ray, and it's going to give you.
You lay on a table and it's just his arm that just scans over you about 1.5 feet, 2 feet off from you. It takes 7 to 11 minutes. And it just gives you a complete, in that you get a report of your body, of how much lean tissue you have, how much adipose tissue, how much, like really important, how much visceral fat you have. And it's our channel.
Yeah. So this is your channel. And then, so I just wanted to point out this video here for other people to see.
Yeah,
so if you go to Candace's Facebook, or sorry, her YouTube page, and click on videos, it's going to be this one right here, which is a really good video and talks all about what we're talking about here on the DEXA scan.
Oh, that's a machine. You can actually see it right on there.
Yeah. Fancy.
Well, it's not mine.
I wouldn't think.
And they're actually, if you
having just come from the world that sells that stuff, I wouldn't think you had one in your home, but I'd be very impressed if you did.
Yeah, gosh, can you arrange that?
Yeah,
just one last hurrah on the way out, please.
Couple freebies. You know, people give away free stuff to influencers, right? How about a free DEXA scanner?
I will bring a van.
You're a GE affiliate.
So funny. But no, so I had that new data, and I looked at the way my body was and how to, like, they talk about being skinny fat all the time. And I was just trying to think of how much lean muscle mass I needed to retain at the end of this, and to be lean and healthy. And because I've never been like skinny before. So my goal weight was completely unreasonable given my height. Mm-hmm. I had like some just unobtainable, unreasonable goal rate that I was calculating my protein goals on. And now that I had the proper information, I can do the math and seeing where my goal my goal weight should be, then I was able to adjust my protein and and even I get those scans twice a month. I'm able to see even how my exercise program affects different sides of my body.
Mm.
It's almost like I'm playing a game with the scan, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just fighting against data, like taking the data in and trying to figure out how to manipulate it in your favor. I like it.
Yeah.
One question I have, just, we were kind of wrapping offline before we started, and I was kind of telling you how I've warmed to the idea of bariatric surgery for myself, understanding that for me, at least the current class of medications aren't going to help me accomplish, I don't think, what I need to from a health standpoint. How did the satiation after your, not the first surgery, but
you sure you don't want that one?
After your bypass surgery, I am curious to know more about that whole experience. But the bypass that you had, how did the once the pain of the surgery wore off and you're kind of dealing with the aftermath of it, how did the satiation part of it stack up to your first experience on a GLP?
Oh, I don't think it's apples and oranges.
Is it really?
Oh, it's just apples and oranges. One is the physical ability, like you just can't eat physically.
It just hurts.
It doesn't change mentally.
Okay. So you would say that I think I caught that you did start off on tirzepatide right away, right?
Correct.
So tirzepatide, and people say this all the time, like when they're comparing semaglutide to tirzepatide, that tirzepatide just turns that volume down, where semaglutide is maybe a little bit more like bariatric surgery and like that just physical fullness, but it turned that noise down for you in a way that surgery did not. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah, no, it's still off.
Wow.
I don't get hungry.
And what dose are you on currently?
I am on. I just today I went to 10.
Okay, first 10. Feeling all right?
Yeah, I feel great. Good. Well, I still have the patch and numbing cream on. I'll let you that's not even fair. I'll let you know.
TBD.
Yeah, it takes a couple of hours.
Yeah.
To numb your skin.
Yeah. How quickly after you take a shot are you noticing the feeling of it? Not the injection site, but the actual medicine doing its thing.
I split my dose, so I don't have a off cycle.
Okay.
So I take mine every 4 days. I take so I'm on 10, so I take 5 milligrams twice a week. So it equals 10 for the week. Yeah,
very interesting. And that's something else that we've talked about on this channel before, where I feel like the medicine for me wears off very fast. Because I do get an initial day, solid 24 hours, maybe 48 if I'm lucky, of like something where I can feel like I've taken something, and maybe I don't think about as food or eating as often as I would if I weren't on the medication. But it's like 2 days for me. So I've often wondered if similar sort of protocols might work for more people who tend, because I think people get it twisted with the half-life of these medications. They go, well, tirzepatide's half-life is, I don't know what it is, like 5 days or something, 7 days. I don't think it's a full week. I think semaglutide might be 7 days and tirzepatide's like 5, but that's an average.
I think that if that was true, then why would on Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy, and Zepbound's website, they say that you can take another dose after 72 hours if you're like on vacation plans?
Yeah.
Why does it say 72? I figured it would be 72 hours.
I'm thinking that the weekly shot is more about that being an easier way to market it and sell it and get people to stick to the regimen, probably, than it is the half-life. But I think the half-life being what it is for both of those drugs respectively is just an average of what it was when they tested, the subset of people that they tested. And it doesn't mean that's going to be universally everybody's experience. And I'm curious to hear in the comments, if you're watching this video, what's your experience? Like, are you feeling the effects of the medication for a full week? What day does it tend to wane for you? I'm just curious, as an informal poll, to hear from other people what they experience, because it's definitely, and this has been like since day one, the medicine for the first few months worked really well for me, but it only ever worked really well for the first couple of days. There always was that second half of the week that was like, kind of like, is it shot day? Is it shot day? So very interesting. How many
days did it work for you? And like, what was the longest amount of days that you can recollect?
For like a week time frame, I would say maybe at the most 3 days. Maybe at the most 3 days. And that would have been, so I have a really disjointed journey on MOUNJARO where I titrated up to 15 within like 3 or 4 months because all the middle doses weren't available. And my doctor, he's like, as long as you're tolerating it well, the plan is to get you up to 15 because that's where most people saw the most benefit in the clinical trial. So the goal was always to get to 15. And so me being an idiot that I am, I was like, well, let's get to 15. And so I didn't wait around for the middle doses, and I just bumped up very fast from 2.5 to 15. And, in hindsight, I really feel like when I was moving up in doses, so I did the 2.5, the 5, the 10, and then the 15. So I didn't get the 7.5 and I didn't get the 12.5 on my first titration up. And I feel like the best dose for me was actually the 10 milligram dose. It was like when I went to the 15, it didn't really seem to be over the long, maybe for the first week, it was like more, but it seemed like I did the best and probably lost the most weight for the month that I was on the 10. And then I started getting migraines really bad. And so I titrated back a little bit, And then I finally got to the point where I was like, I'll just start over and see if starting over and starting low and slow works. And I can just slowly go up the dose. That was a disaster. That did not work. And then for a while I went on semaglutide just to see if I could do a reset. And semaglutide was very interesting. That was the first quarter of this year that I was on Ozempic. And Ozempic was actually, I maintained my weight the whole time I was on Ozempic. I tolerated the high dose of it very well. And that's where I go, I cannot kind of understand how people describe the two medicines, having been on them both. Like, I don't think I experienced either of them the way that most people do, but it definitely was on semaglutide more of a blunt object against hunger, where the way that you kind of describe the feeling after surgery, like it's worlds different. You just can't eat. It hurts to eat. That's kind of how semaglutide was when you would get that feeling of fullness. You're like, oh, couldn't possibly eat another thing. Where I never really ever got that on MOUNJARO, ever. It was just with MOUNJARO, you would almost have to remind yourself to eat because you never thought about it.
Right.
At least my first couple of months on it anyway. So having experienced both, that's kind of how both were for me. So it's interesting to hear you describe the bariatric surgery as kind of being maybe a little bit more close to how people describe semaglutide.
It was great though, because it was all that was available at the time.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. I thought it was fine. And it wasn't this horrible like recovery thing whatsoever. I think for myself, it was just clear broth for a week followed by soft food, because your stomach's healing. And with the advancements of technology in 20 years, I think they've come a long way. Like a lady I know just had some type of bariatric surgery, and it was an outpatient procedure. She went there and went home the same day.
Wow. Not in Tijuana?
Not in Tijuana. Santa Barbara. Not in TJ. Still excellent tacos. But yeah, no.
I don't know if you saw the interview with Jamie Triplet Dad, but man, he recovered very, very well and very quickly from his gastric bypass, and he's done amazing.
I just watched that. Did he have 2 surgeries? Is that what he was saying, or he just had 1?
I think he just had 1 surgery. I don't think that he had one previously, but I could be wrong. There's a lot of people that have, had the sleeve and then they've gone back years later and gone the full gastric bypass route.
And he lost 350 pounds?
Yeah, he's like, 300. I think the last update that I saw was like 360 something. Yeah. Which is incredible. And so he's almost maybe already half of what he was to start with. So that's an incredible story there.
No, that is incredible.
But I think anytime you think about, the fact that, the first time you lost 200 pounds, and then, essentially you've done it again and then some. I mean, to think about the mental toughness that takes to do that is incredible.
I turned it into and it's not really, because I think this time just coming from like the darkest depths of hell, and then seeing light and being exciting to live again. It's like exciting on so many different levels.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited to put on that suit. I can't traditionally work out because of the problems in my neck. So, but I did join a gym yesterday just so I can use their sauna. Like just getting out every day or parking farther in the parking lot. I'm just so, I get excited to go outside and garden. Like just things I wasn't excited about a year ago. And then since the start of the medication, all the inflammation's gone. I could sleep in a bed again. Like life itself is just exciting.
That's great. That's great. And, when you couch it that way, sort of, what discovering the medication was to your overall journey in life it was a timely deal. At what point did you decide like, hey, I want to make some videos about this?
I think maybe when I bought the cameras 6 weeks ago and I needed to put up or shut up because eventually they need to pay for themselves. Rent is not free. No, I've always been interested in the content creation, but it's just like pressing record is very scary. Like, how are people going to receive me? And how is this? Like, I have other social channels, but I've never connected the two worlds together. I never let those people from my photo industry see this part of my life.
Sure.
And so I've just kind of meddling with the idea of bridging them together.
Yeah, very cool. Well, your content is awesome, both from a substance standpoint and production quality. It's just great, and the growth has been fun to watch. I mean, just it's cool. It's always cool to meet somebody else who nerds out on this stuff as much as I do. And your content is very unique. I think that that focusing, especially for those who have lost dramatic amounts of weight before, whether it's through surgery or other means, to be able to sort of document not only what it means to lose weight, but what it means to be healthy and to gain health and to have a high quality of weight loss, which I think, if you look at what the pharmaceutical companies are doing right now, they're very focused right now from a pharmaceutical standpoint on just that. Like, how do we get people to lose weight, but lose it from the right spots, right? Not depleting muscle mass down, which, especially later in life is super important to your overall health.
Right.
I mean, it's important your whole life, but especially as you age, maintaining that muscle mass is life. And so you see Eli Lilly, they bought this asset called bimagrumab, which I believe was initially, I could be wrong about this, but I think it was initially designed for older patients who were taking oncology drugs and helping them preserve muscle mass. And then they started running it in some clinical trials with semaglutide. And Eli Lilly sort of saw what they were doing, bought it up. And now you see probably within the next year or 2 years, they'll be offering some sort of combination of a muscle preserving agent with, I think they said both tirzepatide and retatrutide.
Was it already FDA approved or was it in trial phase, the muscle one?
Bimagrumab, I believe, was in later clinical trials. The combination.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, so they're just buying up assets that other people have been developing. They're not the only one, and I think they've even bought another company with another asset that is similar to bimagrumab. And then Novo Nordisk is partnering with a company called Regeneron. Same thing, where they're looking at stacking semaglutide or cagrilintide or CagriSema with some sort of muscle preserving agent. So they're really focusing now, shifting their focus. Like, I think the next generation of drugs will really help to kind of elevate the weight loss closer to maybe what some people would achieve with bariatric surgery. Because right now it's still, especially long-term, bariatric surgery has the edge. But if they're able to sort of achieve very similar results with the medication, then it's going to come down to, all right, how do we tune this in and make, from a health standpoint, make sure that people are losing the right kind of weight along their journey. So that'd be fascinating to watch.
I think both camps, regardless if you're a bariatric patient or you're a peptide patient, the rate of muscle mass loss on average is still between around 30%. 30% of the weight loss that you lost is, so if you lost 100 pounds, 30 pounds of that was muscle. And you're not expected to keep all of it, but I'm trying really hard to stay under 10% muscle loss. Yeah. We'll see where the cards fall, but that's the plan. But with modifications maybe.
Yeah, excellent. I know, obviously, when you lose weight, you're going to lose some of that from lean muscle mass. You need less muscle to carry around less weight for starters. Right. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to watch. So I've had it scrolling across the bottom, Candace, this whole time about the fact that people can find you on YouTube or TikTok at the T on GLP. So you're probably in other places too.
It's the same at all social channels.
Awesome. Very easy to follow. So at the T on GLP, wherever you get your socials. Yeah. We hope that you'll continue to make awesome content. We're looking forward to kind of where your channel goes, and you have such a fascinating story, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit with this community tonight.
I sincerely appreciate you having me. Thank you for all that you do. When you trade stocks, you read the investors journal every day. I think when people turn for information about any of these drugs, instead of turning to CNN, to Bloomberg, to anything else, you're always the first thought, wonder what Dave has to say about this. You really are the information hub for anything GLP, GIP, glucagon related. It's really amazing.
It's fun. I have a lot of fun doing it, and I appreciate you saying that. Hopefully people will continue to tune in and stay interested. Feel like as long as I'm interested in it, somebody else will be. So as long as people keep watching, we'll keep making the content over here, and you do the same.
It's phenomenal content, Dave. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Candace. Thanks for coming on. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th of July. Bye.
Candace, the T on GLP. Make sure you go over and give Candace a follow. Give her some love in the chat for coming and lending some of her time on this holiday to all of us. Thank you to Candace for joining, and we'll look forward to seeing where her content goes in the future. Awesome interview with Candace. Make sure you check her out. The scrolling across the bottom there is a call out. Of course, we'll find that in the description of this video as well. Y'all, I hope you enjoyed the chat tonight with Candace. I hope you'll go over and give her a follow. I hope that you've had a great 4th of July. I hope that you enjoy this long weekend with your family. I hope that it is a fulfilling weekend for you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. Of course, we'll catch you next week. We've got a really great lineup coming up. Dr. Wiener from the Pound of Cure podcast. We've got Dr. Beverly Chang coming on, my favorite follow on Twitter. And so I'm excited. Hopefully we'll get Dr. Rosen, Dr. Albert in here again sometime soon as well. So we've got some great stuff lined up. There's also some great stuff going on with the channel, some interesting articles that I'm contributing to, and some major publications. So we'll be excited to bring you those here in the next couple weeks. But until next week, happy Independence Day. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be so gracious to you. Until next week, we will see you on the pen.